Welcome to Melbourne, Nick. It's great to have you here, and it's so good to be in the space with your work. The exhibition's called Burn Down the House. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about what that idea means for you and how it relates to the work.
Sure. I guess the house or the home is the location of where most of the materials I've used in my practice over time have come from. I'm very, very focused on that kind of interior space. But I guess in the last 12 months, that space has taken on a very, very different kind of feel for most of us. It's gone from being that place where we retreat and relax to being a place where a lot of the time we're almost forced to be, a place that we can't escape from. I've been thinking about that as a location that's changed a lot and that is quite different now in terms of our psyche. In titling the show Burn Down the House, it's not about literally burning down the house at all. It's really about that state of mind. And burning anything as a way of kind of cleansing, particularly things that might be toxic. You know, there's a long history of kind of burning or applying fire to things to sterilize them. So I think there's a whole range of different connotations around that saying that we can relate to a state of mind that maybe we're all sitting a little bit within now. I guess something that's typical about my practice is also screwing around the logic of the domestic, not presenting it in a way that it functions at all. And in this show in particular, there's a kind of fragility in the way that the work is positioned and located, a kind of installation that hopefully you hold your breath around, that you have a kind of nervousness around as well, which I think is something that's shadowing us all at the moment as well.
The exhibition runs across 3 spaces. We have the furniture installation in here. There's also a sound work and a work that is based on tree branches. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about how all 3 rooms and works relate to each other and maybe some of the materials you've used and what that means.
Sure. And I guess the materials are quite common, again, with my practice, those natural items that come from the more wilds of nature and things that come from within the home. And I see a connection between these things. I think there are so many ways that we bring natural items or items from the natural environment into our home, often in a really, really sanitized way. You know, there's a real popularity at the moment for stone bench tops, for example, in kitchens. But actually most of them are synthetic. Most of the bench tops that are being installed aren't really stone, or they might have stone within them, but they're a kind of conglomerate. They're an artificial reference to nature, and we fill our homes with artificial references to nature. The furniture is all timber furniture, so in that way there is a direct connection between the natural branches that I have in the other space and the furniture that's here. And those items have the bottle caps applied to them, and the bottle caps are something that come from an exploration I was doing, looking at ways that we recycle materials towards kind of creative ends. And the lagerphone, as it's known in Australia, is one of those things, you know, a stick with bottle caps attached to it that makes a kind of musical sound. And I think there's something beautiful in that. And most cultures around the world have an equivalent of that kind of instrument. I've taken that idea of this thing that can make this sound, you know, a kind of rattling sound, and applied it to the furniture and to some of the branches. But none of that work makes any sound whatsoever. It's something you kind of have to imagine, and it is very precarious. As I mentioned before, the installation appears quite fragile and that it could collapse. And it could collapse if you bumped into it. The whole thing could collapse with a massive sound.
Absolutely. I think that's so important with the show. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how you hope people might feel or how they might experience the space and the work when they're here.
Sure. Well, I hope, particularly in this installation, that you do walk very tentatively around it. I mean, we've been experiencing the space in the last couple of days, and you do feel, and I'm really, really pleased that you feel that. You can jump up and down on the floor and you can hear a slight sound, but really it's all happening in your mind.
Thank you so much, Nick, and congratulations on a wonderful show.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.